Kate here. I wanted to talk to you today about the Oscars and the ratings. And you may be saying to me, Sister Kate, I didn't watch the Oscars. It's kind of the point, isn't it? The Oscars are the, movie industry's awards to the best picture and the best actor and so forth. And it, goes through all sorts of to technical things, the best editing and the best soundtrack and animation and everything. And they've had the worst ratings ever for this one, and they've steadily been declining. So what's going on there? As someone who's interested in movies, I've watched the Oscars when I was younger, and I'm kind of thinking they're kind of last century. The whole way that industry works is kind of last century. They definitely, Hollywood became sort of a thing in the early 1920s. And then, it's an industry. It was a way to make money, and it was also a way to propagandize. I mean, movies reach a lot of people, and so if you have a message, and it's really gotten propaganda like nowadays, if you had a message, you could use your movie to get out. I mean, it's also to tell stories and things, but it was also political. Charlie Chaplin did a movie on Hitler and showed him as an idiot dancing around an office and throwing a globe up in the air. There was also a very early movie, I can't remember, something about Potemkin, it was a Russian movie about a battleship that got stormed or something. So movies have been for entertainment, but they've also been political, and they're for money. And during the Depression, it was one of the ways, certain people made money was having Nickelodeons. A movie cost a nickel to go see, and people talked about being little kids, and on Saturday when there wasn't school, they could go to the picture show and show and watch movies. Anyway. Yeah, it's last century, and the whole Oscars awards thing, I kind of get it, because awards are like to acknowledge people getting a skill or attaining something. And in the case of the Oscars, it's the movie theater or movie industry rewarding itself, rewarding what they consider the best movies, best actor, best editing, best soundtrack. And it's a whole other way to generate more money and more interest and give accolades to people. And that's being used. I mean, I don't know if you care, but Hollywood is like a type. And there is influence there. And there is deal making going on there and so on. And we've seen some of the ugly, ugly underbelly of it with the Harvey Weinstein scandal and the Me Too thing and everything, where it was almost like prostitution, to get yourself this fame, which is a worldly concept. To get fame, you have to kind of sell your soul. And it was alluded to, so it's not being made up. But the Oscars, movies in general are still very entertaining, but Hollywood as a powerful force that runs all of it, they are losing their power base. Netflix makes its own movies. Amazon makes its own movies. There are independent movie makers. There are international movies and international movie making. And so that's one reason Hollywood has less power and less influence. But another is they have gotten so left-wing in the last 20 years that they're losing the general public. And they've been catering to these weird, transgender, you can be, a certain thing and flip-flop back and forth 7 times and it's still normal kind of movies. And the general public is not that. These are small, tiny little minorities of our population are gender bending people and same-sex people. And under the Obama administration and sort of under the Clintons, they got more play than is their representation in the population. They got a lot of say. There was a lot of media coverage for those sort of things, and legislation catered specifically to them. But people like mom and pop with their 3 kids, that thing is so far removed from their daily existence. You cannot make an emotional connection to that, and you certainly don't want to escape into that sort of reality. So Hollywood has been losing its base, and other movie makers, producers, etc. are picking up where they're dropping off. And even little kids' cartoons and things are getting so politicized and so weird that parents don't want to go to them. So if you make a clean movie with just a regular story in it, your movie's going to get a whole lot more attention than some sort of, twisted fantasy thing with allusions to habits that are not your norm. The other thing about that award ceremony is it's catering just to them. Like, the entire audience is more Hollywood people, and it costs them thousands of dollars to go. They wear, millions and millions of dollars of jewelry and custom-made dresses by the finest designers. Again, that's so far removed from the reality of daily life for most people, us included. Like, that's why they're losing their audience. And if they continue to push that stuff, I mean, not only did they disillusion people with their movies, but when stars and directors and people getting the awards started to give political speeches when they accepted their awards, I'm not watching for that. I don't watch politicians' speeches most of the time anyway, so why would I want to watch someone who's not even a politician, with no experience in politics at all, get up there and start speechifying to me? And yes, that's not a real word, but you get what I mean. Like, I'm not interested in that, so I'm not going to watch that. I don't care how many jewels or what kind of Armani suit the guy is wearing. I don't want to listen to that. That's not the purpose of that whole movie making industry. It is to tell stories and to allow people to escape into a different kind of reality than their everyday struggle. And they've just completely lost sight of that. So that's another thing right there. It's very hard to connect with uber rich people doing, sitting around with other uber rich people, patting other uber rich people on the back and saying, aren't we wonderful? And, I'm wonderful and you're wonderful. The people who were in the movie with me were wonderful. I just can't relate to that. And I'm sure that's another reason why the general public can't relate to that. And we may see, the end of this thing. It may be just a long slide down. But that happens when a century turns to a new century. New technology explodes, culture changes, fashion changes, society changes. If you look at 1900s and Victorian life and then 1920 and flapper life, it was a huge difference. And we're seeing the same thing now. If you look at like the 1980s and the fashion there, which I was involved in all that, and it was absolutely outrageous the way women's hair was huge and big shoulder pads and Michael Jackson leather jackets and parachute pants. And now you turn to modern day fashion and it's a completely different thing. Technology has continued to skyrocket. We're talking about robots. We're actually having robots. We're talking about houses that can run themselves. So it's all part of a trend to see the old world dying and the new world rising up. My point, especially personally, is this. Why would I want to watch that when I have this to look at? Right? Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, like, comment. All right. Bless you. Shalom.